Okay, let's get started. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we'll begin with the public portion of the meeting. First on the list is Don Vanderveer.
I want to be as quick as possible, so the gentleman has something to say. So unlike my usual lengthy remarks, these will be very brief. 50-50. We scored one, we didn't score one. With the derelict sailboat, I was able to send somebody down to the beach, get the hull number, and try to get the New York State registration numbers. He says to me, "You're not going to believe it. The thing is scoured as clean as a new refrigerator. There's not even a ghost sign of the New York registration numbers." Then we checked, and it turns out that the hull number disappears at a New York State data bank after 5 or 10 years, whatever it is. So no numbers, no record. What boat are you talking about? You know, it's good enough for me. So I had Mr. David Whelan come in on the May extra high tide, the full moon tide, come up with his floating rig and come down onto the sandbar off the shore, not on the grass, reach way out, pick the thing straight up in the air, put it on the deck of the barge, bring it over to my place, into the driveway, cut it up in the dumpster, bye-bye baby, and you have some papers on that at your office that National Waste has taken it away, so it is gone.
Great, thank you.
So it is 50-50, right? The other one has been much less successful. I made an extensive attempt to trace Tisdale and or Mary Dage, which would be his next of kin. She was living with him long enough. You can't find any trace of them. I spoke to the local sheriff. The last guy I spoke to was a deputy. He's now Captain Kevin Flab, thank you very much, which is great. They can't find either one. I talked to the New Mexico State Police. They sent an officer down there. Same thing, can't find anybody. Phone doesn't work. I then got a friend of mine to do one of these internet searches where you plug in, you know, they get all kind of stuff comes up, which I have no idea how you do it. I did get the name and address of Mary Dage's sons, which we may be able to contact them and find out what has possibly happened. As of this speaking, I cannot tell you anything about those two people, Don M. Tisdale, who's the registered owner, or Mary Dage, who would be his next of kin if he has passed on. So,
Don, I thought at one point, though, you thought that Don Tisdale may have passed?
we thought he may have passed. I had a word that there was an obituary somewhere, and we can't seem to find it. We have made a big search for that thing, and I can't seem to find it. If we find it, that will help a lot, but right now, I don't have it.
Okay.
So, in talking to Rick here, we've sort of formulated a plan. We're gonna come up with a way to declare this thing derelict and abandoned. Once we have that, I'm home free. The only codicil to this, which you have to respect, is the birds are having a field day there. Their chicks are, you know, this is a chick like this. And
What kind of bird?
ospreys, and they're doing extremely well. So I have a kind of a commitment from Mike Bottini, who's a hell of a good guy. He's gonna get some volunteers that as soon as the birds fly south, we're gonna take the entire nest intact off the top of the barge and put it on an extension of one of my pilings as near as possible to where it had been. So when the birds come back, they will not be lost looking for their nest. It's gonna be their nest within a few feet of where it had been. So once those two obstacles are overcome, I wanna bring that pile of junk up next to the bulkhead and hook onto it with my crane, and you can stand down there while we cheer and have a beer, and I'll rip it to pieces and bye-bye. So that's it. So when we get these little obstacles over with,
Yeah, the
it'll
only
be
thing
gone.
we want to do, we have to send notice to whatever the address of record is
Last known
for
address.
the last, well, at least for the boat registration. I mean,
That would have been Renfrew Drive, which is not gonna help us very much. He's
well,
moved
yeah,
out
because
of
we
there.
know he's not there.
But I have the address in New Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in theory, if he's still alive, I guess there could be a forwarding address. So, but you need to get me that, because I looked, I didn't have a mailing address.
It's in your records, it's in one of my well,
Yeah,
and
I
your
don't-
secretary thoughtfully lost it for you. But I'll get it for you.
Because I had
No
notes
problem.
from when we talked, and I thought you'd given it to me, but I
It's
wasn't.
in one of my letters. But it doesn't matter, I have many copies. I
All right,
have
if
my
you
own-
can, if
own
you
Xerox
can give me
machine.
that, then that would be our contact.
Okay,
Probably
so
won't be
get
forwarded, but.
Get through that, we're all set.
Well, thank you for staying on top of it.
I have stayed on it, but I'm thinking that the earliest we can do this is around October. I mean, I'm not a naturalist, but that's when I see the birds fly.
Yeah, that's
When they fly, I'll fly into action. How's that?
Okay, great.
good.
All right, gang,
Thank
that's
you.
it. The nice, next gentleman, see, I told you we could.
Check this place
I
out
expect a round of
today.
applause for that.
That job is all done.
Okay. Have a nice evening.
Okay, Zachary Cohen?
Hello, Zachary Cohen, thank you, and thank you. Don.
Zachary's always quick.
I have to be tonight because much of what I'm talking about, and you're being facetious, I know.
I am. In a friendly way.
Yes, because I have to present it, similar to what I'm going to talk about here at the spring CAC meeting tonight. I just wanted to bring you up to date on certain issues that relate to the use of the 20% of the CPF revenue for water quality, one specific one. And I think, Bill, aren't you on that technical advisory committee? So you can back up some of this. A number of people have been interested in whether that money can be used to help upgrade the system at the spring school, which pretty well, as everyone agrees, is in need. Myself and Scott Wilson in conversation, and both of us, he's an ex officio and I'm an actual member of the Opinions Bureau, that if it goes there, discusses these things. We both feel yes. And our yes, of course, does not have any necessary force with the town board saying that they want to do it, or the school board saying that they would want to do it that way. But I have been asked, and I know that it's come up. So I have written Fred Thiel and Kevin McDonald of the Nature Conservancy. He chairs our committee. And I've requested a meeting because we need a meeting for two other subjects anyways. I'm hoping in some ways we don't need that discussion, that everybody decides they read the law. I read the law, I think it's clear that there's no prohibition against that use.
That's
but-
where it is right now. The committee was seeking some legal opinions.
So-
Had some conversation with the authors of the legislation.
Well, so my view on that is with all due respects to Fred, and is Fred created in the law this bureau, Opinions Bureau, to decide exactly those things. And that these decisions really belong in the group where Fred and Kevin, in a sense, sit at the head of the table. But we do make these opinions by vote and we discuss them. So that's part of the reason I laid out my arguments and Scott's arguments why we feel that it's a permissible expense, and recommended that if we felt that there was any differing opinions, that that's a good sign that this is where it should go and it should be decided by that. So the trustees have different ways they can get involved. One would be, of course, asking the town board to want to do a project like that, and another would be possibly if there is a difference in the CPF law that you feel should be discussed. We have definitely had people approach the Opinions Bureau that were not just municipalities and say, could you decide this? Especially, for example, in agriculture. We've had the Peconic Land Trust come in and ask us to look at issues. So that's where I stand, and I know that in Chris Ganich, who's also a member with Bill, has written a letter that will be presented tonight at the spring CAC, saying that she strongly supports the use of the money.
Yeah, that seems to be the sentiment, but there's discussions about whether it's possible. It's a huge source of nitrogen going into Accabonac Harbor. We'd like
Yes.
to get it out of there.
Yes.
I also understand there's ammonia showing also.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
it's,
that's the nitrogen takes that's what.
yes. So, I would encourage the trustees to, at the minimum, follow it, but
Yeah, well,
preferably actually take
as
something of an
as
active.
trustees, it is degrading our property.
Right, so I would actually think you might want to take a more active role.
It's still in a state of flux.
And,
the way it's
you know,
going.
basically, when I read, and if you want, I'll send you some of the things in the law, but it's one of those issues where you read the law and there's nothing defined. It's not like you find things that say it can be. What you do is, it doesn't specify, or it doesn't, the only thing it limits the use of the money for in terms of wastewater treatment is it can't be for growth. It can't be for any increase in density. But that's the only limit. There's no limit.
It's brand-new legislation, there's no case law on it.
Right.
And we're trying to, it's under discussion with the committee.
Yeah, I sense that, I don't know, just from my email exchanges, I kind of sense that I think Kevin would like to see it discussed. And if, there are people who say, that's often how things get there, is people
Yeah,
say,
there's
"Would you
a-
please
yeah,
discuss
there's a-
this?"
The one particular issue, there's a lot of things going on. We definitely want to see the nitrogen not go into Acquabonic Harbor.
So that's pretty much what I have to say, and, certainly there for follow-up questions. Now we're into the future.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zachary.
okay, thank you.
Okay, next, Priscilla Whittle.
So my name is Priscilla Whittle, and I'm the co-founder and president of the Friends of Georgica Pond Foundation. I'm here tonight to represent our organization in support of an emergency opening of Georgica Pond. We want to thank you for considering this important request, which we believe is in the best interest of the pond. As I have said many times, and I will say it again tonight, it's going to take a generation to fix this beloved body of water, and we at the Friends of Georgica Pond Foundation intend to spend the rest of our lives trying. But we also believe that we must rise above the rhetoric of green lawns and fertilizers and work with the facts. We know from Dr. Goldberg's extensive research that nitrogen pollution is causing all the problems in Georgica Pond, and that nitrogen pollution is caused in large part by septic systems, not just fertilizers. My co-founder, Annie Hall, who is here tonight, and I have started the process of upgrading our septic systems. And as we are both finding out, this is a lengthy, expensive, and disruptive process, but it is obviously the right thing to do. We also believe that in due time, we will be able to convince most of our neighbors to upgrade their septic systems. Meanwhile, we know that one of Dr. Gobler's key recommendations is that the pond be opened more often. But let's focus for a minute on what is happening right now, since the pond wasn't open in March. Newly planted buffers are entirely underwater. Oaks and pepperidge trees are sitting in acres of stagnant water and starting to fall down. No blue crabs were found in a winter survey this March, and Stony Brook research is telling us that blue crab larvae are known to require high salinity in order to survive. Septic systems are inundated as the depth to groundwater is presently 5 feet or less. We know this year was an anomaly as birds started nesting much sooner and the traditional spring opening could not occur. But my sense is that next year the birds are going to do exactly the same thing. So for right now, Georgica Pond needs to be opened, and the sooner the better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla.
And if it was up to us, we would open it.
I know.
Excuse me. If it was up to us, it would be open.
Right.
But we're handcuffed, if you would, by the federal government with regards to the piping plovers. So, we feel badly, but again, our hands are tied.
Well, we are applying for an emergency permit to do the opening, and it should be ready to submit Wednesday, Thursday. So,
But,
we'll
Francis,
see what happens.
based on the information forwarded to me, the most recent map shows that there is a nest site within now the trustees' property. They were
That-
outside of that, now there's a new nest,
Yeah.
exactly
You're
where we
exactly
want.
right.
So it's
But-
very unlikely that they're
is.
gonna say
It
yes.
is unlikely, but
We-
we need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make the effort.
I think Fran, did you request that they do another survey? Because when I was down there this morning, this last little storm we had washed over the area fairly, yeah.
So you think the nest is
I
washed out?
mean, it
Well,
needs
was
to
the
be
beginning of the
reevaluated.
list, So,
It was a scraping, the one that was right there. I mean, the area needs to be reevaluated, and we requested that it be reevaluated.
Right, right.
Because Saturday, the storm actually, looks like it washed over the beach down there into the pond, which would, you know, we want to see what effect that had on where the plovers are today. And so we're going to do that.
And I just for the record, I have to point out, as I said in my email response to you, that I just think it's very inadvisable and inappropriate to ask for email consensus of the board on an issue of this importance.
Well, I do believe we spoke about it at the last meeting.
We did,
And we did agree, as
To
most
pers-
of us agreed,
to pursue opening it on the Georgica property.
Or to pursue,
possibly. We said
pursue
possibly.
opening it possibly on the Georgia, yeah.
But we don't have the right to do that. We can only
No.
apply on our own property.
But what we're going to do now is we're going to, you know, based on this, we're going to make the application and see where it goes.
With
And we
regard,
know it's going nowhere. So you're acknowledging, you're just, anyway, you know my opinion. I just think it's the wrong way to go, and I just think it was wrong to do this email consensus
I,
thing.
you know,
And
we
even that, and I am
received-
speaking, and may I finish, please? 2 weeks ago, you interrupted me, and I'm a little still upset about it, so let's just calm down. I'll try first, okay? Basically, you know, it's a vote, it's a consensus of the board, and even via the email, the only responses I saw, there were 5 responses, three in favor, 2 opposed. So again, even based on that documentation that's available to me, not even to the public, it was not a true quorum of the board.
There were not 3 opposed, there were 2.
No, 2 opposed and 3 for.
Actually,
Yeah.
Tim didn't even respond.
No,
be
I
honest
saw
with
Tim
you.
responded no.
I didn't see his response.
I saw, he said no, Rick and Tyler said yes, and I assumed you were a yes because you sent it out. And I saw no other emails.
Jim said
let me
yes.
chime in here. My recommendation in a case like this would be a special meeting of the board. I mean, I do think that, you know, a decision like this probably should be taken in a face-to-face meeting of the board. And, you know, if need be, we call a special meeting.
But we did this at the last meeting. We agreed 2 opposed to pursue permits.
Right, I don't,
Oh, so
I'm
we
not
had
even
that
clear
meeting.
whether there was a new decision to be made.
Yeah.
Because I thought we had reached that consensus as well at the meeting. But if you do have to make a decision where it hasn't been decided, I do agree that, that should be done by a special meeting. I'm not comfortable in, you know, unless it's something very minor, I don't think an email exchange is really the way to go.
Okay.
You know, just you can't have the full, apart from the fact that you're acting outside of, you know, public view, you can't have the full exchange of ideas and information that you can have when members of the board are all sitting, you know, facing one another.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but I believe if we look at the minutes, we did agree to pursue it.
That
We agreed
quite
to
possible.
pursue
That's quite possible.
an
We had a
emergency
pretty
permit to
robust
open the
discussion.
pond. And I assume we should have a special meeting, should we get it, and decide what to do, you know, prior to its opening. But as far as I see, we've already decided to pursue the emergency permit, am I correct?
That's the way I saw it.
Yeah?
Okay, okay.
And would you like to have another vote tonight?
Well, we don't have,
If you think you've already voted on it, then that's good. Then
Yeah.
It's done.
and we're talking about applying for the permit.
Right.
I mean, we're not
You're not actually opening it yet.
not actually opening, and I think we should have a special meeting prior to doing that.
Right, okay.
Okay?
I cannot for the life of me understand, and I do appreciate wildlife, but, you know, how these birds cannot be somehow moved when we have a health issue concerning the pond and the effect it's having on all the people. I think it's really unfortunate. There has to be exceptions.
Well, that's what the emergency permit is about.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna try and avail ourselves of that.
Okay.
But I think overall, the amount of inconvenience that the nest sites can sometimes cause our community. Following the winter storms, we can't get the dunes rebuilt before the nest sites are, you know, being roped off.
Yeah.
That I have asked several times in the past, Brian, if there isn't more that can be done with an endangered species such as incubating or raising somewhere. And I know it's difficult to then reintroduce to the wild. I know there's a lot of complications to it, but it does seem like if we're not being successful with what we've got going on, and we are now endangering the health and welfare of our community, something else should be able to be done.
It is a federal act. I mean, the Endangered Species Act being federal makes a lot of complications where on a local level, we really don't have too
But
much
it's
say in the
supposed to
matter.
be- It's supposed to be updated, the species itself there should be public availability of an update on
Yeah.
status of that
There, I
species,
mean,
and it's not available.
Right, I think Natural Resources
we've
has
been-
been good about providing those things. I mean, I've seen multiple updates, since this issue started,
the
about where the
Local
nesting sites
updates,
are.
not federal updates,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So we could go
Well,
on
imagine
protecting
how-
the
But
species
this
for another 50 years and
isn't,
never
I
know
guess-
how it's recuperating.
I understand that the DEC is actually, has notified Southampton that they were in violation of their permit for opening.
What were the consequences?
I guess it's being,
Yeah.
Why were they in violation?
because they had, it was the one, which was the one, Mecox or Sag?
Yes, Mecox,
yeah, they opened
I believe.
Mecox without a
No,
permit,
Sag Pond.
and
Yeah, they opened it in violation of their permit.
Well, they didn't get a permit, or they
Or
didn't
they-
meet the
They had a
conditions?
permit, they had a permit to open it, but I think it pertains to the plovers and.
I don't think they had bird issues at Mecox.
No, Mecox, but it was the it was.
It was the
another-
second opening.
Okay.
The second opening, the DEC told me that they, they had sent them a letter about a violation. So the process has been undertaken. We'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, we're gonna apply for the, I think everything is ready for us to apply for the permit really soon, and we're gonna undertake that process, and we'll see where it goes,
The rest is up to
Well,
the Army
Is-
Corps.
gonna be correspondence and discussion and arguments and stuff. But it should be something we have available to us. Yeah.
Do we have any reason to think that we would have trouble getting the permit if not for the plovers?
No, I think
don't
if it
think
were
so.
not for the plovers,
Not for
I
the
think it
plovers,
would
we
be-
could just open it without asking anybody's input.
Well, supposing we did apply for a permit, would we have
I would
any reason to
feel
think they
either
wouldn't
or.
issue the permit if not for the plovers?
They
I would hope
balance,
not.
what they do is they balance the threat to public safety versus, the
All right,
thing
I mean,
that-
this is where what we have to find out. We
The
would like
only-
to have a
from-
cooperative working relationship with
Yeah.
DEC, and we have to see whether that evolves.
Yeah, well, that appears to, it's something we're working on. It's, again, I want to take a long view of what happens with the pond. I'm way more concerned with getting some basic things fixed so the future is good. Next March, hoping to open it, on St. Patrick's Day, and let's get going, but we have to work these things out. It's a process, and we could, sometimes the actions you take can slow things down, you just, it looks right now that things are starting to move forward. There's a plan in place. We're getting everybody together, and, I thought for a second a pond was gonna take it upon itself to open after that rainstorm, but
Would have been great.
it didn't. So we'll see. I mean, I guess the board's voted to apply for this permit. All the details should be together, by the middle of the week? And then we'll go forward.
Okay. Robert Niederlander? Okay. Next on the list is Kevin Mcallister.
Good evening, Board. Kevin Mcallister of Defend H2O. I just want to thank the Board for your due diligence with the vector control proposal with respect to methoprene spraying. Of course, you know my position on methoprene. I know the Board is perhaps trying to be cooperative in the interest, similar interest, that we move away from methoprene applications. I just urge you to be very careful with respect to how any study is crafted, particularly looking at the fact, I guess, Suffolk County does not appear willing to forego spraying BTI as part of said study. That's my understanding. And I would like to be further informed if I'm mistaken. And a precautionary note going forward, and I've seen this, and I've seen, or rather have heard people, I'll say parrot commentary on, the answer is moving into the wetland systems with marsh management, open marsh water management. And many folks really don't understand what this actually entails. I will tell you, I was front and center with respect to the county's environmental impact study that was completed in 2007. They have what's called best management practices, 20-some odd best management practices relative to, again, marsh management. They could vary from basically pulling out a log or a tire out of a ditch to more invasive pond building within the system. I will tell you that the ultimate goal is about mosquito reduction and not necessarily marsh health. So, take that with a grain of salt. CEQ, the Council on Environmental Quality, in the process, there were two findings that ultimately CEQ, as they did their responsibility for seeker review, I'll say it was somewhat split on methoprene, but ultimately the recommendation to the legislature was to discontinue methoprene applications. And almost unanimous from CEQ was a rejection of open marsh water management, these best management practices. And as a result, the county embarked on a wetland stewardship committee. They met for several meetings, and it just seemed to just die out. I do know, again, they put this forward as the answer to pesticide reduction, and I guess I'll say be careful what you wish for. And again, just due diligence in all aspects of vector control, because again, what is really the goal here is mosquito reduction, and that's not necessarily compatible with marsh health. Thank you.
Wait a minute, Kev. Thank you for your work. You've made me kind of a believer in not using the methoprene, and I understand that Connecticut no longer allows spraying, correct?
Correct.
Now, is there a government agency, be it DEC, EPA, that is not in favor of this product? I know the county thinks it's fine, vector control, but I was just curious if there's anybody in other governments that are kind of not feeling.
Brian, within our own state, I am trying to reobtain, because I had the document some years back. It was actually a DEC document from one of the regions, Region 3, upstate. And ultimately, their position was not to have methoprene applied to state-managed wetlands because of the concerns that we all share. And ultimately, that was the posture from DEC. In part, I had provided that document to Assemblyman Thiel and Senator Laval. From that, in part, they crafted a bill that would ban it statewide. Connecticut in 2013 banned it in all coastal areas where there would be any drainage into Long Island Sound. I did see some correspondence with Suffolk County, and this just continues, I bristle at this. They continue to suggest there's no ban in Connecticut. If you add a caveat that a population of 100,000 or greater, if there's a death of West Nile and that populace exceeds 100,000, then ultimately methoprene can be applied. And that's reasonable, but my point is there is in fact a ban in Connecticut, and to suggest otherwise, as DPW often does, is just erroneous.
Right, it's easy to mince words and, say when it's really a kind of a restriction, like you're saying, it's a restriction, in any event except for a health emergency, like you're saying, as it's described. They're saying there's no ban because it really is a restriction. But
No,
it absolutely is, that restriction that you're saying is in place in Connecticut, and that is the case.
Exactly, Tyler. And ultimately, a reasonable person would say under certain circumstances, New York State has a West Nile response plan. And ultimately, it allows for a tiered approach for pesticide applications if we have any form of outbreak. And, you know, absent an outbreak, should be basically,
So what happened to the bill with Fred and Senator Laval? Did it ever get out of
the
committee?
wheels of
Consistently stuck in
government, I
committee,
guess,
yeah.
or the legislature. I've been following this. This actually moved through the Assembly, the Environmental Conservation Committee, and then it goes to the Rules Committee. I believe it moved out of the Rules Committee. On the Senate side, I'm told it moved through the Environment Committee, but unless it ultimately goes to the full floor by, I think, within this month, then it gets kicked into like December and it's a do-over. And that's been the, you know, basically Groundhog Day for the state band for the last 5, 6, 7 years, is when it was first introduced by Assemblyman Thiel.
It's almost 2 years now since Ken Laval's environmental roundtable that I went to with you, where we urged Senator Laval to match Thiel's legislation, and he ultimately did. I don't even know if that's the first time he did, but we certainly have Fred Thiel and Senator Laval are both against it as well.
I was assured just this week that Senator Laval is firmly committed to this legislation. It's just a matter of process within the legislature, and you know, ultimately, again, if it doesn't get done, unfortunately, it becomes a bit of a do-over, as it has been.
Yeah, I would be hard-pressed to think that it wouldn't, only because both of those men have been there for so long. They should have plenty of push, and I hope so. Yeah.
And that's where the community and your board body comes into play. You know, ultimately urging our legislative representatives to really, you know, to prioritize this, and that's been represented to me. It is a priority issue.
Maybe we need a follow-up letter. Okay.
Kevin, this is the first time that I can recall you expressing opposition to BTI. What brought that?
Oh, I'm not expressing opposition to BTI.
Oh, that's what I understood.
No, let me
Okay.
clarify, with respect to a study to look at the effectiveness of methoprene, you know, absence of. So I'm certainly seeking a watershed-wide ban in one of the water bodies. But ultimately, if you're removing methoprene applications but still using BTI, which is a larvicide, you know, it makes it more difficult to assess the impact because there is a larvicide in use.
Okay, see.
So for clarification, from the literature I've read, BTI is fairly benign in the environment, and I have always held that this is an alternative product to address the larval stage mosquitoes, while we just basically remove methoprene use in its entirety.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Just to clarify for the public, BTI is sort of not so much a chemical measure of control as it's a biological measure, and it's it's kind of a dormant bacteria that gets inside the guts of the larval mosquitoes as they eat, and then it kind of kills them from the inside, and it won't affect other insects like methoprene might. So methoprene can affect a lot of insects that go from larval stage to adult stage, whereas BTI is very targeted to
It also seems
certain
to
mosquito
affect
species and
juvenile
midge flies and things like that.
Small fish, larval fish, right?
I mean, definitely might affect larval shellfish especially, yeah. Methoprene.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the board? Okay, let's move on to new business. We have a request from the East Hampton Fire Department for their annual fireworks display. On behalf of the East Hampton Fire Department, I respectfully request permission to hold the East Hampton Fire Department's annual Main Beach Fireworks fundraiser. This display will be conducted on Saturday, August 26th, 2017, with a rain date of Sunday, August 27th, commencing at 8:30. Fireworks will be launched from an area adjacent to Hook Pond, east of the Sea Spray Cottages, and will be conducted in strict accordance to all applicable local, state, and federal codes and regulations. Thank you for your assistance and consideration in regards to this matter.
Okay. Based on that, I had read that, and I reached out to Lori, who then reached out to the fire department. We need to know, first of all, whether there are any plovers in that particular area. So we would need, I would like Natural Resources to confirm that they won't be detrimental to the birds in the area they're choosing. Second to that, they need to, and it's probably in our files, but it's a very specific description of the area of beach that needs to be closed for their fireworks, and we need that to get it in the paper for at least 2 weeks prior, public notice in the paper prior to this date. So the gentleman has been asked for this information.
Good, good. Glad we're doing this.
Yeah, they do it
early
every
and
year, so
getting it-
it's standard.
Yeah,
Getting it all
it's
set.
down to a system.
But the reason they were moved into September years ago was because of nesting birds. So we should just make sure that they're being all clear.
Okay. Anybody else?
I've heard people, ask about what measures are in place to protect firework debris from getting in the water and stuff like that. Does anybody on the board have any insight into
There's
that?
nothing you
plan
can
or
do.
anything?
Yeah.
You can't control the winds.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when they do the 3 Mile Harbor, Sandcastle folks, they'll actually walk the beach and pick up, I guess, the caps that are left over from the barge. So that organization has been pretty good for, cleaning up the beach, depending upon how the wind blows.
Now the debris that ends up is mostly cardboard embers.
Right. What's
I
basically
would
ash and
assume that
that.
some of it may be contaminated with some of the chemicals that they fired.
The
but
chemicals,
The
Metals.
assumption is pretty
Gunpowder
much
is-
all
Heavy
of it
metals
has
are used in
gone off.
fireworks. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. The assumption is most of it was burned off, but.
Yeah, I guess so.
Any-
Just thought I'd bring it up.
So we just get those clarifications and vote on it in 2 weeks?
Mhm. Okay, old business, Georgica Pond, dredging South Inlet. You want to talk about that at all, Bill?
I mean, it's moving forward. We've talked to, the process is moving along. We hope that this permit and the dredging permit, which are, the emergency permit and the dredging permit are separate items, but they're both under active discussion. I talked to Mr. Hamrath as of last, either Thursday or Friday, and it appears that everything's coming together. Hopefully by this fall, we'll be able, hope the emergency permit is one item, but the whole dredging permit, the whole schematic for the pond, I'm hopeful will be ready by this fall, when hopefully we can, get the job started.
Bill, have you had any success in getting a commitment from Mr. Hamrath to come down and visit with us to move this along further?
We haven't, I think they're waiting the correspondence from us, and, at that point in time, we'll get it together. George is away this week.
Okay.
But we have another contact for the emergency permit. And I think we resolved most of the issues that were holding up, the other stakeholders' concerns. And I'm sure there will be a meeting with Mr. Hamrath. It's probably going to be in I would think a couple weeks or a month is a better, more realistic timeframe. And for the big permit, getting started by the fall is the earliest we can do it. So it's not a pressing time issue at the moment. But
So basically, I'm hearing, no, we don't have him coming out.
we haven't got a scheduled
We
meeting
don't
with
have a
him.
scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
But we have discussed a scheduled meeting. It's just a matter of getting everything else in order. Yeah, there'll be we'll have a meeting with him probably before the end of August. I mean, possibly sooner than that. But right now, no, I can't tell you that we're gonna meet on the 28th at 4 o'clock or anything like that.
All right. Georgia Cove is the same issue. Horseshoe crabs, old business.
Tom's
We
here
would-
tonight.
No, he's not here.
We did offer
it'd be a-
to follow up with him if he wanted to work with us through harbor management or, other trustee resources to start the delineation process of nesting areas for next year.
That'd be nice. I think it'd be nice to, do it through harbor management, because you can get Bayman involved and find people who actually,
Yep.
are part of that, and so
Yeah,
I don't know how we
good
can go
way to
about
engage the
trying
community.
to find people that want to come and discuss that and talk about, where do they go, what do they use, and how we can balance their use with the protection of the animals.
Yeah, no, I think a good community discussion would be helpful on that one.
And we'll follow that up with Deepwater Wind Farms. You want to talk about that?
We've held a series of meetings on the Deepwater Wind Farm project at our Harbor Management Committee meetings. They've been very interesting, very well attended. Members of the commercial fishing community, members of the sustainable energy community, members of the Deepwater Wind Farm management team. So we've had 3 Harbor Management Committee meetings and 1 public meeting to date, and they've been very helpful. So we are looking forward to continuing that. We will have another Harbor Management Committee meeting on Deepwater Wind in late July, and then hopefully we'll present a kind of a executive summary to the public sometime in August or September. So those discussions are continuing, and it's been a real nice look at the project. So we're really looking to make sure the project is done right.
Yeah.
Thank you for your efforts, Rick, and
Yeah, Rick, that was
And
a,
they've
it's a lot of
put a lot
work.
of time into research.
And,
this.
Thank you.
We've done our
Yeah.
research as well, but you seem to have a
Yeah,
massive staff.
some of the positive things that are coming out of the meeting is that it appears now that they are strongly looking to stay out of Gardeners Bay and Block Island Sound and all those things that we had,
Yeah, they seem to be
Objective
listening
to.
to the input from the fishing community, and there's also some very good input coming from the sustainable energy community that, really looking to see the project done right and to balance our energy needs going forward. So it's great to see the community coming together on this project.
Yeah, people are speaking out and they're listening, so we're gonna have more meetings.
So it will continue. So
But
it's
this
a great
thing's that-
informational platform for the community to weigh in on this topic. It's an
Captain
important
Fo-
topic, and
yeah.
it's a project that needs to be done right.
Captain Forsberg brought out some really, important information about how we had to really get the micro sighting done on Cox's Ledge, and, it seems to be something they're receptive to, that they want to work through all these problems. And we'll keep talking, so,
And the public is welcome to attend the meetings if they would like to join us.
we're gonna have to look for a larger venue, I think. We might have to actually take that into
You
consideration.
may have to.
Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Accabonac Hog Creek, there's the no spray trial area proposal. I don't think anything's changed on that.
I think we just discussed with Kevin most of what's going on at the moment. I did see what you handed out about the
That's,
the dipping. We'll get to that.
We're gonna, yeah. Lionhead Beach Association, bulkhead repair?
The application I had looked at, and I had requested some additional information from the agent, like a updated survey, verification form on who can sign it. And he actually submitted one application that would have Phase 1 this year and Phase 2 in 3 years. And I said, let's rewrite it. You got Phase 1 now, gets permitted, and get another permit in the future. What are you gonna do
Yeah, it's
about
great
it?
if they're planning it all together
Yeah.
like that, but
Yeah.
for our purposes, for the permitting, it's
Right.
better just to have
Yeah.
the first phase applied for
Yep.
separately.
Yep, and I know he
agree.
got that information via an email, and I don't think we've received anything new yet.
Yeah, I looked it over too, and it looks fine to me, and it's a detailed plan, which is nice, but they do need a survey still, yeah.
Yeah,
It reminds me of with the
Mendelmans.
Mendelmans.
Right.
They may
Yeah.
have a 4 or 5 year project.
Right.
But each year they come, they advise us, and then we up the permit.
Update it, yeah.
Update it.
Yeah.
And that works best. This way we're on top of it. Yeah,
Right.
that's good.
They have good photos enclosed, and it looks like it definitely needs it. And I know they want to get it done, it says spring 2017, so I know they're looking to get it done ASAP. I don't know if you want to consider making a motion to accept it, pending receipt of the survey.
No.
Right, we have to get their check was written wrong, is that right, Lori?
The date
Okay.
Yeah, the date was too old,
Okay.
yeah. So I'd say we wait.
All right.
And I'd like to see that project description changed, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Move on to beaches, adopt a beach program.
Sure. I looked into a couple things about this. I, first of all, wanted to talk to, get more town board input on the whole thing. I talked to Sylvia in the past a bit, because she was the recycling and litter liaison, but I had to talk to Peter Van Scoyoc about the actual pickups of the garbage. That was the other kind of one of the unresolved things still. And he's happy to work with us on it. He likes the idea. And he's a liaison to Parks and Rec, who, we usually picks up trash from beach ends as opposed to Highway Department. So, with the Adopt a Road, the Highway Department's dealing with the litter that results with Adopt a Beach, it would be Parks. And Peter said he's very willing to work with us on that, and Parks does pickups at the beach ends every day. So if it as part of the agreement, they notify us when they do a cleanup, whoever organization is sponsoring cleanups, then we'd have them also probably notify Parks at the same time, let them know that there's going to be a cleanup that day, and that, there'll be some trash there. I looked into also getting trash bags with our logo on it, and I requested a quote from a company called CustomPoly.com, and they do all kinds of nice plastics and polys, and you can put insignias on them and get your logo on there, and they have different thicknesses. So I put in a quote for what I think would be about the right specs on the bags, but they want everything from the exact thickness of the bags and millimeters to all the lengths and how the gussets are and all that kind of stuff. So I put in a quote. From the quote I made, it's a $2,500 minimum purchase, which is a lot of bags. But I think if I change some of the specs, I might be able to get the minimum purchase down. I'm still waiting on the exact price on that, but it seems like it's feasible. The other thing that Peter suggested was that if Parks is going to be picking up all the trash, and that we're kind of doing this as a cooperative sort of thing, he'd like to see the town logo on the bags, if we have the Trustees logo on the bags too. And I don't see any problem with that, personally. And if Parks is nice enough to pick up the trash, I don't see
I'm
why
a
we
big
can't have both
proponent
logos on there.
of what you're doing.
Yeah, I like the
But
punch.
I would forego the logos. I mean, we know who we are. If you can get more bags and less logo, who cares?
That's
It's
fair.
garbage.
Well, the only thing is, if they're gonna be leaving it at the ends of the roads, it would prevent other people from adding to their own, adding their own
Their
personal.
own little white kitchen
Right.
garbage bags. Yeah.
Let's get the prices.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll see how the prices
See
are.
what
I
it-
think.
Yeah.
See what the difference is. I mean,
All right.
And the way the permit is now, I mean, I like it the way it is. I think five cleanups a year is, if anyone thinks that's too much, please, let's talk about it. But as it stands, I think that like 4 throughout the summer months, and then just 1 during the winter months, because I know it's hard to get out there in the middle of winter and do a cleanup, and there's not as much garbage. There is a lot that washes in during the winter months on the beaches. But I don't want to make it too onerous for the people who want to get involved in this and do
Sure.
it to have like 8 cleanups a year or something.
No.
No business is honestly going to want to do that and stuff. I'm going to say, oh, I'll clean the beach 8 times a year for a sign. But I think homeowners organizations and people who really care and people who, nonprofit groups and things like that would totally be willing to do 4 or 5
Have you
cleanups a year.
spoke to Dell about what you're proposing?
Yeah, I talked to Dell about it from the beginning.
Yeah, good.
Definitely, yeah, he seems on board with the idea
Excellent.
and gave me some input, from his experience, which is very thorough, of course.
That's good, okay.
So I think I'm almost there.
I don't want to step on his trash.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Good.
Basically, right at the last step of this, I'm just going to see what these bags cost if we want to get bags.
yeah.
And the beaches, basically, any beaches down on the South Shore, in Mcallister are basically ready to go as the first adoptees. And Gerard Drive, I think, is the Gerard Drive beach seems to be another spot that is easy to delineate and could probably use it unless there's a group already doing cleanups that hasn't notified us yet. But if anyone out there does cleanups on certain beaches, we'd really urge you to notify us so we can kind of fold that into everything and be aware of what's happening where to prioritize which beaches really need to be kind of put up for sponsorship or adoption first.
Okay.
That's where we're at with that.
That's good.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
All right. Under beaches, we have the latest plover activity map at Georgica.
Yeah.
And as
wait,
Diane said, the
yeah.
newest nest is right smack in the middle of our parcel.
Can I ask if we've received any information, maps, documentation on any of the other plover sites located on our beaches throughout town?
I haven't seen these maps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not surprised. Do we have like the data, so we don't have data of where they were found, when they were
I
established?
think Juliana's making an effort to get these to us because of what's going on there.
Right.
I mean, I haven't specifically asked her for these, that
Right.
she's doing it on her own initiative, which I appreciate.
It should be forthcoming, and it should be standard that, you know, basically in the past, I've asked that prior to any fencing being put up on our beaches, that the trustees be notified. Because the first people that public will come to when they see a fence is the trustees and wonder what it is. So right from the pre-fencing until the time that it comes down, we need to be much more involved in this loop.
Are you on the Beaches Committee? Mm-hmm. Have you spoken with her this year?
All I get is what comes to the office. So,
See.
I have spoken with Juliana many, many times in the past,
This morning.
and I'll be happy to do so again if you'd like me to.
There's a nest there.
You know, a lot of the committee members of other committees are, you know, very proactive with their community.
Oh, yes, definitely, Rick. I'm gonna get much more proactive now. I will contact her. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I know
I'll do
Juliana
that,
has
yeah.
the data, so
No
let's
problem.
get a hold
No
of her
problem.
and
Thank
ask
you,
her
Rick,
some
for
more
suggesting that, yes.
info about which
Definitely.
beaches have
Proactive.
activity right now.
Yes, let me get that down. I will contact Juliana and see if I can find some more information out regarding the plover situation on our beaches this year and provide it to the board by the next meeting.
Sounds great, thank you.
Okay, kayak racks at Gerard Drive. I got an email from Zachary, and he's been kind of helping, representing the, was he on the Nature?
Nature Preserve?
Nature Preserve Committee. He's been working with us to try to get these racks put up on this piece of land, which may or may not be nature preserve, may or may not be trustee. It's gotten as far as the town board and seems to have come to a standstill, so he has asked that I follow up with the town board myself with this. It's now been thrown in our laps completely, and I will pursue it this week.
It's probably stuck behind our snow fence legislation.
Yeah, something like that.
And moving all the ugly signage at the end of the beach
Yeah.
off to the side.
Yeah, that's
so
probably,
people can
that's probably
enjoy
jammed up in there
Yep.
too, yeah.
the wonderful vista.
I talked to Peter Van Scoyoc about
Crazy.
that too, and I talked to him about because that was something I said last meeting that I would do before the next meeting, was call Peter and talk about the signage. And he's really willing to work with us on that too, and it's something that he said he was, you know, has been thinking about for some time and has heard from the public about and wants to figure out a way. So he wants to work with us to kind of figure out exactly, you know, there's some signs there that have to be in front of the parking spot.
Right.
It's like a handicap parking spot.
Correct.
But he wants to basically identify the signs that do not need to be in front of the parking spots, and find a way to consolidate them on one side of the beach access.
Yeah.
Indian Wells is a good place to start, of course, and I think that's what we were talking about trying to do first. Some, you know, all the access points are different. Some of them have 2 accesses, some have 1, so it's hard to
Right,
figure
right.
out where to consolidate them at and how well to do it so they're visible enough that people aren't gonna argue they couldn't see the sign or something like that. But that's kind of where we're at. So if I don't know if somebody wants to get together and go to Indian Wells and actually look at all the signs, count them up,
Bring a trusty
figure out
chainsaw.
which one. Maybe not that far. Maybe just some pictures or something. But identifying which signs could be moved. And
Well, is it a
and
town
how many
issue
there are.
or a trustee issue?
I think it's something we can cooperate on.
I don't like that. 'cause
You just
it
liked it a
falls-
minute ago with the beach
It creates what I would refer to as a municipal crack. So either we, you know, spearhead this thing.
Right.
Or the town board does. We meet with Tony Littman, we look at it, we say which ones can stay, which ones can be moved over. Because as it stands now, it's an embarrassment. They're rusty, they're going this way, they have graffiti on them, they're going this way.
There's
There
only-
are signage missing, and, you know, we have these magnificent beaches, okay? And I know I'm preaching to the choir here,
Right.
but it is an eyesore and an embarrassment that these signs look the way they do.
Well,
Okay,
not
well,
to
that's
mention the
spearheaded
fact
then.
that they block your
Yeah.
gorgeous view.
Basically, Peter gave us whatever okay on his end to spearhead it, like you're saying. And
Then
go
let's
ahead
do
and-
that.
Let's do it. We can go down to the beach. 2 of us can just go down. That's what I was implying, was just some of us go down there, see which signs are movable, and then
Make a
figure out a
sketch.
plan to move them and maybe make some kind of drawing or something of how it would work and then submit it to the town board and
Right, let me just say, the one about the booze and the one about the fire regulations, you know, they can be off to the side, like as a message board. The handicaps have to stay, and to the right at Indian Wells, we have to keep that open for emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay? Other than that, you know, that will really clear it up, you know, for a nice view. You know, this isn't rocket science.
Right, yeah, it won't
I
take
mean,
much
you
work and
know,
it'll have a good effect.
Put everything,
This should be
Better
done,
view of our nice beaches.
you know, pretty quickly.
Are you concentrating on one beach?
I'm thinking Indian Wells and Atlantic right now, for starters.
So they have a pretty broad opening.
yeah, but you could
Nice opportunity
consolidate
to
all
park and
those,
look.
you put them all the way to the right, past the emergency lane
Yeah,
put 3 or 4 of them on one post,
Mhm.
and you're good to go, you know, I mean,
I had a gentleman tell me that this is a common practice where he summers in, he winters in California, and he had heard us discussing this, and he said, it's so simple. All the information is off to the side.
have one, just have one information
Yeah,
Center.
post, and then, and the parking, you know, the stuff that has to be there will be there.
okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the fewer posts, the better.
Get down there.
As few posts
One
as
big
possible would be
post,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Georgica Ponds, Phragmite control applications, Ackerman, 290 Georgica Road.
The Ackerman application has resurfaced, and they were working on getting their DEC permits for quite a while. As most of the Phragmites to be removed is on trustee property, they had to
Correct.
approach the application process a little differently than some of the other ones. But they have moved it along, and Jim has had rather detailed discussions with Eric Brown, the agent for Mr. Ackerman, and he would like to move this forward. He had to attend a funeral today, so he's not with us.
Jim?
Jim.
Okay.
But he would like very much for us to move this one forward. And, you know, I believe the application is now complete. We looked at it in some detail quite a while ago. And I don't know if there's any questions on this one. It's been a while since it's been brought up.
Can we just read the project description?
Sure. Let's see if we have that handy. Okay. So we're looking to remove common reed Phragmites by hand using a shovel to remove the plant material, including the rhizome, wheelbarrow plant material to truck for disposal at an approved upland facility, plant shrubs and herbaceous materials per New York State Department of Environmental Conservation directives. So that's the general purpose.
Is there a plant list
I don't
connected with
have the
that?
complete file in front
Right.
of me at the moment. Prince, I don't know if there's
No,
another
I don't.
section.
All I have is what I gave you before.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I know that Jim had spoken to them on behalf of what specifically we would like to see planted there. I know that Jim has a good handle on that.
Yep.
Right, but also, if we're talking about removing Phragmites that are on trustee properties,
Right.
It
and then
is.
they're gonna re-veg, we'd wanna see a map to show us where they're re-vegging, because you don't want them to now re-veg
Yep.
on the trustee property.
Sure.
Right,
Now,
right.
you know, being that we don't have the full file here, you know, it's probably best for us to table this until the next meeting. If we had the full file and we could really
Yeah, that
look
would
at
be
the,
good.
the site map and the survey, that would be more appropriate.
And I'd like to hear what Jim has
Yeah.
to say on it as well.
Sounds good. I know he wants to move it forward, but we have to have a complete picture.
Okay.
All
So we'll
right,
table that one.
Gallows, 94 Appoquog,
That one I think we want to table.
One Association Road,
That
table.
will be tabled. That was discussed at a ZBA meeting recently, and I think everyone's looking for a more detailed buffer planting list to make sure the project is really helping the overall health of the
It's
pond.
been the problem with the project for over a year.
Quite a
right?
while, yeah. Clearing down to the pond
Yeah.
edge, and then want to take the Phragmites out without a real buffer being instituted.
Yeah, they can't seem to come to an agreement.
Yep.
And then we have Birch on 31 Turbell Lane.
Yep.
It looks like he's hoping to get that.
Yeah, Birch, he also wanted to see moved forward. We did get an updated management plan. I don't see a current survey in the file for them. I know there's been a lot of cutting going on over the years. But this is referenced as time back to the survey. We've added an additional 5 feet of upland buffer, which was part of the requirements of the permit in our discussions with them. And they provided us with a rather detailed plant list as well, which is pretty comprehensive. But the last survey I could find is a little dated. And I think they've been cutting back since 2006, based on my reference of the file. So this is an ongoing,
This one's from October 2016.
oh, okay, you got a more current one, great.
Well, that in conjunction with this.
Right.
Would that be sufficient?
So that's the most recent copy of the survey. So this one's definitely a little more complete. So that ties back. So I'd like to see the momentum continued on this one.
This is not the
Button
one
bush
with
is
the
really
biologs, right?
No.
No, this
No.
is Phragmites
Right,
removal.
okay. Okay. Okay, so the only thing I would ask specifically is that as they remove these Phragmites, and they're gonna put in this nice buffer, but anything seaward of this property line right here not be revegetated, that it be removed, but not,
Right,
you
that
know,
would
because
just
they've
be
got a good,
to,
they've got a lot of,
right, I believe the
buffer.
planting is only gonna take place in the newly delineated area.
okay,
And they're just gonna be taking out the Phragmites by hand so they can leave the native species in place.
okay,
Should be fine.
And then if they
Yeah.
come back naturally, so be it.
right, okay.
Okay.
Do you want to make a motion on this one?
So I'd like to make a motion to approve this permit.
And this is also all be done by hand?
It should be done by hand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is any of the digging, are any of the Phragmites being dug emerging from the water? They're all on the land?
Well, I'm sure some of them are probably moving water to the water side of the project, yes.
With the motion, I would second it.
With all standard conditions?
Absolutely.
I'm supportive, I just have, the whole Phragmites thing is so complex, really, you know, there's so much, there are two sides to it, like the nutrient side of things, too.
Yep. Well, that's why we wanted to add the additional upland buffer.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting an
So,
So
and-
additional
and
buffer.
providing a
Have
good
good
plant
buffers.
list, so the plant list was provided as
All
well.
in favor?
So you made a motion,
I
you
seconded
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
With regards to 43 Turble Lane, I had gone with Jim and looked at what would be the proposed work, and what we originally got in terms of a drawing of the planting was really not sufficient, and I'm not so sure that the second attempt is also, so I would like to just table this till I have an opportunity to talk to Jim and see if he's okay, because I'm kind of taking his lead on this. And just, yeah, you see, this is what we have now. These are kind of dots indicating where the planting would be, but there was some talk about some biologs, and we didn't want them to be in the water, because obviously that
Of course.
is not where we want them. So we have to get some more drawings that are of a professional, is that what it is?
This is a survey.
Right.
Pretty good hand drawing.
I don't know if they amended it to
It's up here, yeah.
delineate the vegetation area.
Yeah, so like I said, this is helpful, but it's not all conclusive. So I'm gonna speak to Jim about it, and
So we'll table it.
we'll table it. Kind of vague. There's a lot of work going that is proposed.
Yep. It's a little more complicated
Yeah.
project.
Thank you.
Can I have it?
Yeah.
All right, and then 38 Association Road, Siegel. Request from the building inspector to issue a CO. An email sent to the building inspector, RE, recent activity on the property. Does anyone? Okay.
I think they've had some Fred Mighty work or something in the past.
So, do you have the committee?
Oh, wait, a minute. Okay, so we sent an email. Jim Grimes has inspected the above referenced property and has determined that cuttings of Phragmites have recently been done. Please be advised the trustee permit issued GP number 5 through 14 on November 13, 2014, was valid until December 13th, 2015. Therefore, any work done after that was done without the benefit of a trustee permit. So that's where that is.
So we're looking for an updated permit?
We should probably send him an application. If Jim saw it,
Did
work
an
done.
application go? Did we send an application to that?
I was waiting to
Address.
see what Jim wanted to do.
Okay,
We got a response.
okay.
So an application will
He should
go
be
out.
back tomorrow,
Yeah.
Lori, so if you want to reach out and touch base.
All right, harbor management report?
As I mentioned earlier, we are covering the Deepwater Wind project right now. That'll be on the agenda for the next month or so, and then we'll refocus back to our dredging project work and documentation. So Deepwater Wind, Phase 1, dredging, Phase 2. That's really about it for now, Francis.
Okay.
Fold the horseshoe crabs in there somehow.
And some horseshoe crabs.
All right, Napeak Lazy Point, requested transfer of Petrie Wolf lease, lot number 34 end at Lazy Point, to Lori M. Chemla. Documentation received.
I think they're looking for a contract.
Yeah, did you look at?
Yeah, they've done their public notice, and, you know, I've seen I think they did forward us the contract, right, Lori? I don't know if I've seen the contract, but it has the price in there, I believe. And they've submitted proof of residency.
Okay, does anyone make a motion to approve this transfer?
Can I just ask Rick if the contract that they submitted it looks like it's pretty generic, and it does, at the get-go, talk about the house and land. Then there's a rider attached to it that says specifically it's trustees, it's leased property from the trustees. Is that sufficient? Is that okay?
I don't actually remember seeing the contract. I told them to submit it, but I don't know that I received it. Do you have a copy of it there?
I have the rider here, I have the,
contract?
yep, here's the contract.
I mean, it's a contract for sale of personal property. It's not obviously not a contract for sale of land. And I would like to say, it doesn't have to be in that contract, but it should be in whatever resolution we're doing, the amount of the transfer fee, which is what, 4%? right?
4%. Yeah, it used to be 2, now it's 4.
Rider's all right, second rider. Yeah, so they use like a straight residential contract of sale here.
What are we doing, man? Reading something?
Checking the detail.
Okay. Tyler, are you free tomorrow to look at that, signs?
Maybe in the morning. Tomorrow,
I'll
relatively,
call you.
Wednesday, I'm pretty free.
Wednesday's good.
Okay. Okay, give me a call.
We could,
We'll
you
chat.
think you'll need any materials?
For the signage? I'm gonna meet with Tony and, Tyler and kinda formulate a game plan.
Nice.
I think we'll probably take pictures.
Yeah.
That's also what we'll need at this point.
You know, like a 14-foot post or something like that.
You know, I
You're
mean,
gonna show up with the chainsaw, aren't you?
Totem pole?
Whatever, no, I mean, you wanna put some, you know, that's what
Yeah.
it's gonna, just, you know, you can put 4 signs on the right, especially if it's all the way to the right. A little information center sign on top of it.
you know, this is really a little bit of, you know, they're using a standard real estate contract for the conveyance, which is, you know, really not, you know, I mean, it refers, for example, to closing being the transfer of title, including the giving of a bargain and sale deed to the premises, which is not correct. I would say this, we're not approving their contract per se, we're approving the transfer. Whatever agreement they have among themselves, how they want to do this, I think is really up to them. We're specifically not approving the contract or anything that implies that they have the right to convey the title to the property. And we can make that clear in, whatever resolution you adopt. So, I don't think it requires them to change the contract, but I will say that isn't really the correct way to do it when you're conveying personal property, a house, without the actual land. They're not even selling the lease, really, because you can't sell the lease.
There's nothing in there that's gonna come back to us? Well, they can't say.
Not
sell
really.
like
I
they
mean,
don't own it.
we don't acknowledge their right to transfer and they do at the end, they have a second rider, and the second rider says, we're only transferring the personal property, not the real property, so, but, it's, it could be done more elegantly, shall I say.
Okay, but it's elegant enough for our purposes?
Yes, if you use the right words in your resolution.
Okay.
Can I make one point? I'm the owner.
Look,
You have to come up.
Please come up to,
Okay, it's just the exact same.
No, it's not okay. You have to come up. Sorry. Tell us who you are. Welcome.
I'm Ed Petrie. I'm the
Hi,
owner.
Ed.
That's just the same contract that I bought it with, exactly.
all right.
So there's nothing new
No,
there.
it just,
I closed with that and I said, just draw up the same contract.
Okay.
yeah,
That's it.
Okay.
thank you for the
That's all I
input.
have to say.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ed.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, do I have a motion to approve the transfer of the lease?
Now, do we have any language that's going along with this resolution? We don't have a pre-written resolution or anything like that?
We don't have a pre-written resolution, no.
All right, well, let's just wing it here, and maybe Lori, you can go off there. We should have, let's identify the property by whatever the block number is and the street address. I'm not sure what we're using. We're using the lot number.
Lot number 34N. at Lazy
34N.
Point.
You're approving the sale of the house and personal property on that, on lot 34N from seller to buyer. You will approve, I guess you'll approve it by this resolution, the lease in the buyer's name. That's the second point I want to make. The third point, this in no way entails a conveyance of fee title to lot 34N or any real property whatsoever. And the fourth is that the purchase price, which I forgot to note, by the way, whatever that purchase price is. The fourth is that the transfer shall be effective upon the payment as affect the trustees. The transfer shall be effective on the payment of the transfer fee.
It was
4%
paid.
of whatever the purchase price
It
is.
was paid,
It was
Been
paid.
paid.
yeah.
It's already been paid? Okay, well,
Can we know what the amount was?
was it 4% of that contract price?
4%, yeah,
It was?
yeah.
Which was?
Then we
I
should
don't
note
have it in
then,
my head.
then the
But
resolution.
It was like 18,000 and something, more than 18,000.
Okay, so,
So then, instead of saying it shall be effective, then say we acknowledge receipt of the required transfer fee.
Okay.
I think those are the 4 points in your resolution.
so we could just do that in a motion, right?
Yes, I would like to see it converted in, if you agree with that, we can have it, it really should be converted ultimately in writing, but I think it's okay if you do it verbally, as long as we transmit that in writing to the two parties.
I looked it over as well, and
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the transfer.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Lori, if you want to just send me a copy of it before you send it out so I can review. But, we've approved, so.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, 3 Mile Harbor. Application of B. De Los Sueños Partners at 22 3 Mile Harbor Drive for construction of a staircase and inspection report. Is this the one you went and looked at?
Bill went there also, so Bill, you go ahead, and I just have
Yeah.
one quick thing to say at the end.
Now, I went down there and I took some photographs, looked it over. The stairway is necessary to get access to the beach. I guess the trustees part of it is where it lands on the beach, right?
Right.
That would be our concern. And the beach seems fairly wide down there. They're proposing a retractable, and so, it seems to be suited in the best place on the property. I don't have any problem with it. It looks good. I
They
took
have a-
some photographs of the site.
They have a current survey there?
Yeah, here's a survey and all the stuff.
Thank you.
And we'll be getting a as-built survey when it's completed. They'll have to go before, I would imagine, the building department.
Yeah, this is probably gonna
Brian
be a
Frank,
natural resources thing.
Yeah, yeah.
9 yards.
Originally, the agent, Carl Iris, wasn't certain about the mechanism of the, what I call platform or the end of the stairway, but he sent us a paragraph or two conveying that it would be, in fact, on a hinge. So in the wintertime, they put it up and kind of put a lock on it. And we've, Tyler and I have seen a number of those out on the beach, and they seem to work well, so I think they can move ahead with this project.
That's with all other permits and everything else,
Sure.
from all other involved
Yeah, there's some hoops
agencies.
to jump through for sure.
So where do we stand on this?
I would make a motion to issue a trustee permit for this
Mhm.
property.
And I would second it.
All in favor?
Oh, go ahead.
You have questions?
I don't see anything in here about the retractable end.
Oh, wait, I have it right here.
Brian has another
You
document.
guys have a copy of the survey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2011 survey. But I don't see the
That's the
property line
retractable.
anywhere.
Where's the survey?
I don't have anything on that one.
Do you have the,
Alright.
she's, Diane has
And that's the
Yeah,
proposed.
doesn't give you any dimensions, right,
Right.
so they're coming down here. But I see a bluff crest and a wetland flag and tidal wetlands along mean high water. I don't see a property line. So if we don't see a property line, you can't make a determination on whether, and which portion of it is on trustee property. I mean, it might be the whole bluff.
Well,
We've issued permits for the whole bluff and beach.
Oh, I see what you're saying, right, yeah.
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 Can I see the survey?
Show them.
Yeah, no, that's a valid
How do we issue a
point.
permit on a bluff that we don't have ownership of?
Because they're utilizing our properties generally to access the project site, so we then can weigh in on the project itself.
We're basically permitting the landing of that structure,
Right,
not the entire structure.
right, but,
Yeah, they described the construction in detail. It looks like they're coming down from their property. I mean, just the detail in there is what type of tools they're gonna use, digging irons
Right.
and things. It's,
They do label, they don't make it very prominent, but they label a tie line along mean high water.
Okay,
is that as per what? As per deed, as per?
Probably per the deed.
I would
It
think
doesn't
so,
say.
yeah.
Says as tidal wetlands, tie line along mean high water. I'm sure that's the deed. It's got a meets and bounds on it.
Right, tie line is not a tidal line, though. Tie line closes the box.
Tie line along mean high water. You might know my position. I'm not, they apply to you guys, and so, but you know my position.
I
From
know,
the harbor,
I know.
the conveyances.
Well, again, having heard all this, the applicant is obviously gonna have to go through the different,
But this isn't actually on the harbor, though. This
Channels.
is out on the bay. It's Three Mile Harbor
No, no,
Drive.
no,
no, it's on
That's
Three,
in
it's
Three
on,
Mile
it's
Harbor.
on Three Mile Harbor.
That's in the harbor?
That's
It's
on
on
Three
the,
Mile Harbor Drive.
3 Mile Harbor.
west side- it's on the west
Drive.
side of
Drive.
Three Mile Harbor.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
we do have a motion to issue a permit.
I know, we've seen a lot of staircases like this together, like you said. I'm just generally not, and those ones are fine. I'm not generally in favor of people constructing new stairways across the dunes. I mean, it does involve some kind of, this is a brand-new staircase, right? And it is-
Right.
It does involve.
It will
addition
disrupt the
of
stability of that
pilings-
bluff.
of Pilings into the sand in the dune, right?
There's no getting around it, yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of have a general position, I feel like, that I would
mean,
not like
where's
to
the
see more
closest public
stairways on the
access?
dunes, just like I would not like to see
Well,
more
no,
houses
wait,
on the
wait,
beach.
Tyler,
Yeah.
it's a bluff. how are they gonna get from their house down to the water?
That's fair, I know, I just,
Public access.
They-
Where's
they're-
the closest public access?
You know they're not gonna do that without a stairway, they're just gonna go right down the bluff face.
Well, that's what they're doing
That's
now.
what I would do.
Yeah, they've
That's
got
gonna
like,
cause more problems and more
yeah,
erosion.
they've got this rabbit trail now they use.
What they're gonna do.
That's gonna get
Yeah.
undermined.
Yeah. And, you know, the town has to approve this as well. I mean, we're okaying a small portion of this, that being
Just
the,
to put a 6-foot.
you know, the platform, if you would, or the end of the stairs, which sits on our beach.
right.
Having said that, I would second the motion and let them go through, issue the permit and let the town do its due diligence.
Yeah, I'm confident they'll figure it out,
Oh my
get
God.
it done the best way possible.
Yeah, you have Brian Frank will look at it and, you know, in all likelihood, I mean, they may not get the approval.
Right.
This is the photograph of
Looking
the
down.
approximate location, yeah. You can see how wide the beach is down there, too.
Yeah, it's
Take
wide.
a high tide.
You took that today, Bill?
Yeah, took it, just today,
What time?
11:22, something like that. It says so on there.
On your
whatever
lunch
it sa-
hour?
Whatever it
Check.
says on there.
On your lunch hour?
Oh, it got
I
chilly
like
all of
that,
a
yeah.
sudden in here. On your lunch hour.
Checking.
Actually took this afternoon off.
I can see why a staircase would be really useful there, looking at the
Yeah,
pictures.
you'd have to go, I think the
But-
nearest public access would be down Hands Creek, which is quite a ways down.
Yeah, you should see how far it is from my house to the closest public access. Phew, man, I gotta get in my car and everything.
You're not applying for a stairway?
No, no.
But you're not on the water.
Maybe I'll get a helicopter.
If you were on the water, you would probably apply.
Maybe we should be discussing the position of the board, you know, going forward, how we feel about stairways, new stairways on bluffs.
Right, we do have a policy of no new docks, right? I mean, I don't,
What you're discussing is the policy of a landing on the beach at the base
Oh,
of the
yeah,
bluff.
no.
That's what you're discussing. You're not discussing the stairs. You don't
Right.
own the property.
like I said, I'm sure they will get this through once they get it,
I
once
think this
everything
is a
is
ridiculous
Okay.
conversation.
is
No,
done
I
well.
don't think so. I think it's a healthy
Philosophically, I kind of have a
We're
standpoint.
talking
I don't
about
like construction.
a 2 by 2
I
foot
understand that.
space at the very bottom of a bluff.
Right.
It really shouldn't be difficult for somebody who has the ability to access a beach through their own property to be able to do that. There's not parking first of all, how many cars can you park at the end of Hands Creek Road? 6, 7? Okay, so these guys live 10 houses down the street. You want them to add another car to that little area so you can't go. Does that make sense? I just
Great.
think it's a waste
Well,
of time
let's
to
vote
have
on
this
it. Let's go.
conversation. I'm
It is.
sorry.
We already voted.
It's not a waste of time, it's just,
No, I don't think.
Well,
I want
I
to
mean,
vote on it. I'm not trying to hold up their,
To have a
entire
debate,
application, but
you want to have a debate over how a staircase lands.
no.
and whether
you
we
brought up the
should-
whole landing
No,
thing.
it's just,
Can we
we
vote on
have-
whether we-
the board has had a
You
lot of
suggested
discussions
we
on
ban
shoreline
docks. We should ban
stabilization.
these.
I am presenting my personal viewpoint on the
Okay.
issue, and my personal viewpoint is that I don't want new construction on beaches. So I might abstain from the vote or vote against it, but that doesn't mean that,
Okay.
that I don't think they should, I don't know, that I don't think they have a right to a staircase or anything. I think that they own the property, I mean, down to,
Or we
where
could wait
their ownership
until
ends.
the other agencies weigh in
right.
No,
and see.
Go ahead, you guys can vote on it. I'm just gonna vote no. It's okay.
we have a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm
Just
opposed.
2? You're opposed? You're opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
I'm
Okay.
opposed.
Okay, so it's not happening.
So when they go to the building department, what do they get told? Trustees denied it?
Right.
Table it, or?
You know what that precipitates,
No, they
right?
denied it just now.
That will precipitate the issue of whether you own the beach, which is exactly what you want to avoid.
So you guys can have your hissy fits.
Francis, we're not trying to have a hissy fit. I was just presenting my stance
fine.
on
That's
any
fine.
kind of bluff or dune construction, which I am.
Allow me to
kind of
say one
against.
last thing. If the town is okay with putting stairs down the bluff, then my concern is that we issue a permit for the landing or the platform at the bottom, that it's done correctly. And we prefer to see a hinge. And having said that, that's the thing that I'm saying I'm in favor of.
With Brian saying that, I'm okay. I'm going to go with a yes.
let the town be the lead on this. I mean, you know,
So where does that put us, Francis?
okay.
Does that give us 4?
You said no.
No, I said yes.
You said yes. You're yes. You?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
It's 4 yeses and 2
No.
nos, so
Okay.
Good.
just sticking with my
You have every right
philosophical
to.
standpoint on the thing.
You know?
Number 2, PND
I'd like to see it
Hamptons.
done right rather than
Oh, sure.
done wrong.
10 Three Mile Harbor Drive, a request from the building inspector to issue a
What-
CO.
We're waiting for the new as-built survey, and Lori sent out a letter to that effect, right, Lori? So we're just waiting.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Vanderveer was already here.
Yeah. I went down to, this is a different matter with Vanderveer. This is a matter of an open permit from
Oh, okay.
1901. I went down there today and inspected it, and took photographs, and it is, he's also sending in a survey, right?
Yeah, an as-built survey.
but-
Maybe next week
yeah.
we'll have it.
It's, it looks like the work was done, there's, you know, this work on the place is exactly like this. 370 linear feet of bulkhead, this vinyl bulkhead there, I have photographs of it, so it appears to be done. So I guess as soon as when the survey shows up, we'll just contact Ann Glennon and let her know it was done, it was completed.
And there was a trustee permit for that?
Yeah, here's the trustee permit.
Okay.
What was the date on that, Bill?
The date was in 2001.
Sure. Okay.
I think subsequent to that, he also got a permit for the travel lift.
There is a travel
So
lift
we
in
might
place
want to
there,
just
too.
close out both at the same time.
Yeah. The travel lift is there. I mean, there's a huge metal channels out there. Apparently this looks like something that's just coming up now. This is, the date of the print was 12/12 in 2000. So,
If he's getting a new survey, it'll show the travel lift, so we can
Yeah.
kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's,
So Lori, when you get the as-built survey, if you could contact Bill, look it over, and we'll go from there.
yeah, it's there, we can wait wait a couple weeks.
Been waiting since '01.
Yeah. Now, this looks like something that's,
Yeah, cool.
just come up. It looks like the work was done, looks like it was done a long time ago. It looks like it's in good shape now.
All right, administrative payment of the bills. East Hampton Marina, $1,762.09 for repair and maintenance of the pump out boat. Savick and Murray, $981.25.
I thought they were put on hold. I need to review that further.
Yeah,
What is that for? What have they
That's
done?
for
What else have they
research
done?
on the Lazy Point ramp.
Right, but yeah, like I was under the same impression that you were, that we told them to,
It's either a prior
Stop
bill from
researching it.
before the stop work request was made. I think we should double check that before
Yeah.
issuing the
Mhm.
check.
okay.
I would make a motion that we pay the Marina bill and wait on the Murray.
I would second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Let me just say that we did get the shirts for our pump out guys. They look great. So they're styling.
Nice.
Yeah, they got 3 each, and they're breathable, navy blue golf shirts. And they say East Hampton Town Trustee on the left breast. Yeah.
That's cool. Feels good. How's the, we have applicants for the 3rd operator, right?
That's coming up
Updates
under
on
the
that.
report of the clerk.
Okay, great.
Minutes, March 13th, 2017. Anybody have a chance to read them?
Yeah, I did.
I did.
I have reviewed them also.
Any comments?
I looked over Diane's comments, and I thought they were all pretty reasonable. I have 1 or 2 other things, too.
Could you answer that question, Tyler,
what's
about
the
the seven properties around Hook Pond. Did we get one application for all 7 properties?
One application.
So it was prior to their being subdivided. So that's why we were talking about future development, right? And then I was just wondering, it says one of the properties is in a reserved area. Like one would be approved, one's, I forget how it was worded now, but one was buildable, one was in a reserved area. But technically, I don't think you would get a permit to build in a reserved area, so I just want to clarify that particular phrase.
Let me see. Can't even find that. section.
You have a suggestion on how you want?
I don't, because I couldn't remember how,
One already has a home on it that
Okay.
sits on the road.
Right.
And then one is, I think, fully encompassed by the reserve area, so that would not be buildable. And the others are to be built in the future.
Will be subdivided.
We gave them a permit to clear all the Phragmites in the pond. The Phragmites are all offshore of different parcels, but it's all the same patch of Phragmites.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Phragmites are gonna be cut in front of the reserved areas, are also in the pond.
Right.
So, I mean, they're just broken down that way by parcel because, you know, that's the way the property is being divided. Is it an estate or something like that?
It does read strangely when it says, Mr. Horwath told the board that of the 7 properties, 1 is improved and the other is in the reserved area. What about the other 5 properties?
The other ones are to be.
Yeah.
The others are to be developed.
It just reads strange because it's the other, or
Well,
just
it
the one
said-
other or something, but it's okay.
You continue, it says that the properties will be subdivided in order for them to be buildable lots.
Meaning the other 5 properties.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Can
If
that
you
be,
wanna
can that be
clarify
added
like
there?
that.
Can we say, indicated that the other 5 properties will be subdivided in order for them to be buildable lots?
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable.
Are we done with that paragraph?
Yeah.
My only concern was, in paragraph 6, in discussing the Adopt a Beach program. Just for accuracy's sake, it says that I met with Stephen Lynch. I didn't meet with him physically to discuss it. I spoke with him on the telephone. I just want to change met to spoke. I didn't actually have a sit-down meeting with him. And then the other part is that the second to last sentence, trustees would delineate beaches they would like to put up for adoption and let local businesses or individuals adopt a beach certain times of the year. Just instead of certain times of the year, because they could really apply to adopt it any time of the year. Just can say let local businesses or individuals sponsor cleanups. That's really all I was saying at that point. That's all that needs to be put there. Throughout, I guess you could say throughout the year.
Throughout the year.
I just don't want the minutes to imply that only certain times a year. I could,
Throughout the year?
yeah, throughout the year sounds good.
And then there was nothing else with my other proposed revisions?
Well, there's a couple revisions in the discussion on the beach driving permits, of course. Did you look over that too? I mean, I thought what you said was reasonable. I mean, it did
Okay.
make it reflect more accurately what you were saying, and it was things that you were saying, and I do remember you saying the things that you
Okay,
said in here.
okay.
So basically changing they to town to clarify that makes sense. That the decision can be appealed as opposed to saying that could be some determination made for an appeal. It could be appealed, which
Could be
I guess
appealed,
at
that's
this
fair.
point it is being, but unfortunately. And then what's the other one here? Add ammunition to the case against it as opposed to saying provide ammunition for an appeal.
Or condemnation. Didn't it went on a little bit, I think?
That was the other
Yeah.
previous sentence. But
Right, okay.
did you want to leave condemnation in that previous sentence? Could be some determination made for an appeal under condemnation. You wanted to change it to but the decision can be appealed and/or condemned, or no,
Appealed,
decision can be appealed.
appealed or the beach condemned, right?
Great.
Okay,
Good.
good,
That's basically what you
Yep.
put in your changes there, yeah?
okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 13th with the above stated changes.
I would
Do have a
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 27th, March 27th?
Those, I think, Rick and I had both looked at the last meeting, and we were okay with the amendments that were made.
Yeah, I looked up those over too, and those were
Okay,
pretty fine. The amendments
Same
seemed good.
thing,
I didn't
yeah.
have any personal.
yeah, nothing
Comments about
really
it.
changed the content of it.
Did we make a motion at that time? I don't
No,
think
we
did.
decided to wait and do, I think we
Yeah,
waited on
We
both.
wanted to wait, I think, because there were a
Yeah.
couple people were out, so. I'd make a motion at this time to approve with the amendments.
Okay,
Second,
I'll second that.
Okay,
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we need a renewal of certificate of deposit account ending in number
It
6683.
actually already renewed. We got it. It renewed,
Okay.
yeah.
And we have Norwalkie Smith's financial report from 2016. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to go through it.
I was looking over it earlier in the meeting.
I haven't had a chance to look at it either.
Is there a dollar amount associated with that? Did they charge us?
No, the town pays for it.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm gonna see that the Rysam Fund was, has accrued a tiny bit of money for the last year. And so I guess it's minus 488 because we paid $500 to the scholarship winner, right? And then we have, it must have accrued $12 or $11.44 or something like that in the past year because we have it 488.56 less than last year. But what's up with the debit card? 1050 there, the B&B debit card is in the red or something?
It's because the town's closed.
Okay, so that account's done for, and it's okay that we're negative 40? It's that,
It's
that'll,
not really.
it's not really, okay, it just got zero, really? Okay.
Well, I think the rest of us need to
Yeah, yeah.
Read
take a look
that.
at
That's
this
all I noticed, that
before.
seemed like funny, so we'll
did that
table them.
come via an email, that report, Francis?
I believe so, right?
What's that?
Yeah, this came by
Yes.
email.
Okay, can you forward it to me?
I did, but I.
Oh, you
won't,
did?
yeah,
Okay.
I will.
I always see this at the meeting, I never got them before the meeting. Are we supposed to be getting them before the meeting? Is that? okay.
Lori seems to forward most things.
No, it's fine.
You didn't forward that one?
What, the financial report?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
remember.
These usually are at the meeting.
Right, yeah, I've
ours.
never gotten a
Yeah.
financial report via email.
Right.
Do we want to be doing that? I don't know.
I usually do. I probably was in a hurry. But you know what? It comes out of QuickBooks. It's a report. that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
generated every month. It doesn't really change anything.
Right, yeah, it's not like anything you
I mean,
did or
I
didn't do, I'm
the
just saying,
input, but
do we
it's,
want to,
you know, yeah.
yeah. Well, we'll table them for next time, and everyone else can take a look.
All right, report of the clerk.
Can I say one more thing before, while we're
sure.
still on that? Because there's one thing that we didn't get on the agenda, I should have asked to put it on. It's the Clam contest dates that you guys asked me to get for this meeting that we're at now. So 3
That
possible
was
dates.
number 2 on this.
Oh, is it? Oh, well then,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. It's not, report of the clerk on our agendas doesn't have any dots
Right
or
here.
points, so it just says report of the clerk, and nowhere is the Clam contest date. So I'll let you get to that, and then I'll talk about it.
Part-time pump-out boat operator interviews. Rick and I met 2 applicants today. Spent half hour with each one discussing it, and what we're doing now is each one of them is going to spend a few hours on one of the boats, get a feel of what the job entails, whether it's something they really want to be doing, and
And they're gonna interact with the current operators, right? Yeah. Get a
Correct.
little feedback from the operators.
so I know one's scheduled for Thursday. Did we get the other one scheduled?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Largest clam contest.
All right.
You'd like to talk about that?
I'm actually ready. I'm be ready for that. So, we have, last year it was on October the 2nd, it was a Sunday. I'm assuming we're shooting for a Sunday again. But I have some possible Saturday dates too. I felt like that was a
Is it
little later
possible
than
to have it on a Saturday with a rain date of a Sunday? Have we done that before, Diane, or we have tents now, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, Probably okay either way. I mean, what do people feel is better, Saturday or Sunday? I know it was Sunday last year.
No, Sunday's fine, I'm just thinking if it really poured,
Right.
if you had it for a Saturday and Sunday was your rain date,
Sure.
that's just a consideration.
Yeah.
But a passing shower is fine, because now we have tents. You know,
That's a good point, because you don't want to have the rain date the next weekend, because people already caught the clams. You can't wait a whole week.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
right.
So, I say we have the tents, so,
Don't forget the people have collected the clams in the prior week and everything, like, it's not just they don't, all, see it,
that's what I was saying.
Saturday and the Sunday makes sense, yeah.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't have it next week if it rains.
No, 'cause then
So
you
what
got
would-
the
Okay, so the dates are, the Sundays would be September 17th, if possible, September
That's a
24th.
lot earlier than the last one.
Right, these are possible dates. The third date is 10/1, which would be around the same exact, the first Sunday of October like it was last year.
Okay.
But if we want to consider the 2 dates before that, then we'd have, in case there's hurricane issues at the time or anything like that, in case, and I feel like generally we try to have it at the end of September, and last year I think we did have it a week later for whatever reason than we had first proposed, or we picked the last possible date. I mean, first weekend in October is not bad, but I feel like last weekend in September is a great date too. That would be the 24th. This is the last Sunday in September, it's 24th. 9/30 is Yom Kippur, so if we did it on 10/1, that would be the day after Yom Kippur. I don't know if it's a problem for anybody, or we just try to avoid holidays there, so that was also one reason I was kind of going for a date earlier. So September 17th, September 24th are both Sundays in that time frame, and that I have tide charts too that I printed out, if anybody wants to take a look at them, that have just the tides for those days. So I circled those possible days, and there's, pretty good tides before the 17th. I mean, looking for days where there's a low tide at a reasonable time of day where it's not, in the middle of the night or something. I mean, there's two low tides, so, but, the week before the 17th is looking pretty good. The tides are generally the low tide. There's a nice low tide in the middle of the day towards the morning, most of the days before the 17th. And then if you get to the next week, coming up to the 24th, you have low tides sort of in the afternoon and the morning. It's also fine. So I think the tides work out generally well. You just want to avoid those times when there's.
24th sounds like a good day, Tyler.
Sounds good to
Sounds
me.
pretty good, I think, yeah.
24th.
Okay.
Or are we gonna do the Saturday with the rain date of Sunday?
I think that makes sense.
Oh, I thought we were saying because of the tents, we don't really.
but
Oh,
do
with the
people-
tents, we don't need it. Oh, yeah,
Do
yeah,
people
yeah.
clam a lot on
Sorry.
Saturday before the contest? Is that a big day of people getting out on the water because
Yeah.
of work and school?
Okay, leave it for Sunday then only.
I think that's the usual
Yeah.
justification for Sunday, is that people want the Saturday beforehand to go
Yeah.
clamming and stuff.
Okay. Go with God.
All right, we're in God's hands.
I want to know, what's the pollen count for those days? Sorry.
You
All
didn't
right.
cover that?
Thank you, Tyler.
Couldn't get the pollen predictions, I don't know. The NOAA website only had tides, sorry, not pollen.
All right.
They are atmospheric administration, so maybe they could get some pollen predictions. Anyway, 24th, that's our
24th.
proposed date?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, the last thing I have, we already discussed, was the racks at the end of Gerard Drive. Okay, now, correspondence, vector control, we got their aerial mosquito larvicide notice. And I have something here from the Peconic Baykeeper. Which I can't find. Okay, I actually don't have Peconic Baykeeper stuff, so that's it.
Probably on their website.
Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about, but we want to discuss whether we should go into
Yeah,
executive
I'm not sure
session.
that we can.
We want to discuss an intergovernmental contract or agreement
Are we,
with
is
the
either side
county.
paying for this?
With the county.
Or is either side paying for this?
Well, that's part of the discussion.
It's not a private contract, though. I mean, the open meetings law says you can have executive session to discuss personnel matters, contract matters, like when you're buying property where public disclosure might affect the purchase price. I'm trying to think of what else is excluded. No, I mean, basically personnel and contract matters and things of that nature where there's a reason to exclude the public. You know, I think there may have been some confusion here. Under the Freedom of Information Law, documents that are exchanged between governmental agencies, so-called intragovernmental correspondence, is exempt from FOIL. But a meeting with a majority, you know, with a quorum of a publicly elected board, particularly with another public official, there is really no exemption that would allow you to have that discussion in private.
Okay.
So I would either say you have the discussion in public, or, you know, a less than a majority of the board can participate in the meeting.
No, I think we need to have the discussion and move this along, so
Okay.
we'll just do it now. Bridget Fleming contacted us with a proposal for the Methoprene program. It's not going to eliminate the spraying of Methoprene. What it is we have protocols from Vector Control on how to do testing on our own. The Nature Conservancy has agreed to allow their property to be used for this. There's a strong possibility, but hasn't been completely confirmed yet, that we can have interns from Stony Brook do this. If that doesn't work, Kim is prepared to have her staff trained to do this program. Now, what they want to do is multiple testings per week through the protocol. That information will be passed on to Vector, and the idea is that more, let's see, more testing on a regular basis will give them more accurate information as to what's going on. There would be GPS included in this, and that way they can spray less often, theoretically, spray less often. They can target where they spray more accurately, and they may be able to use a lower dose of the Methoprene in the process. There may or may not be some cost to this. We don't know yet. Vector Control is willing to provide the tools, the dippers, and whatever else they do.
There's gonna be there's gonna be transportation of the materials. There's a lot of, I guess, a lot of open questions with the program.
There are some open questions. They will come out and train, they'll train either students from Stony Brook or Kim's staff. They'll spend an entire day doing that. My conversation with Kim was there's a possibility that there could be a cost of $5,000 to $10,000 for the year on this. Are we willing to pick up any of that cost if it is incurred?
It's great to get kind of an agreement like this and to figure out
Yeah, this is
solid
like the
plan of how to
next
get our
step
own
into
data
getting
on
rid of
this, which
Methoprene
is what we're
thing.
trying to do.
And this is back
We're
at
collecting our own data, so
Acaponic.
we have more
data.
two sets of eyes on the situation as opposed to just.
Sounds exactly like our water sampling that we take up to the DEC for shellfish beds.
More or
We're-
less.
We're doing the work
it's
for the other
way-
agencies in order to help our community.
Yeah.
We're doing,
Yeah.
I mean, $5,000 is a lot less than we just.
I was
We're
looking
doing
through the
additional.
protocols. They're pretty, they're a lot more intensive. It's a lot more intensive than the, collecting water samples. As far as, the training and the location and the immediacy of transportation, where you gotta bring them, you know, it's a,
Is the town willing to also contribute to the cost
I'm
of
not
this
sure. The
census?
trouble with the cost right now is that, I guess the trustees have more flexibility in their budgeting. You know, the town doesn't have any funds allocated for
Right,
this.
we could get this going much quicker if we don't have to wait for the town board to pass resolutions and, you know, spend a month and a half.
But we also
debating.
have budget meetings coming up, so we could plan, even
Yeah.
if we start this year, we can maybe plan for some next year.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think they're looking to try and get this started, just, you know, to make progress, and within, you got like $5,000 or $10,000?
That Kim is estimating that it could possibly run that.
We don't know if
Or-
it's gonna
or-
cost
or it
anything
may
not.
cost
Yeah,
nothing.
It might cost
It
nothing.
may cost, or it might, depending on whether the interns do it, whether they have to get transportation or some kind of stipend or
If the-
something like that.
Right, if the interns do it, we have to cover a
sounds
stipend
like-
for them.
But there does seem to be a pretty, you know, do you think it would make sense for us to agree to allocate funding?
Well, we would also be
Yes.
agreeing to be
Participate
the
in the
point
program.
people on this program.
This is going to be, I guess, a trustee-based, it's gonna be trustee-based, right? I mean, it's gonna be a trustee,
Unless the town, unless Kim uses her staff, then it would be.
that might even be just, that might still be a
Yeah.
trustee-based program, you know?
Should we have another discussion with Kim and Bridget to really
Nail the
solidify some of
Absolutely.
these
Yeah, we're not
details
really gonna
before
decide
we
anything
bring it
final
to a
tonight, I don't
vote?
think.
Yeah, because between $5,000 and $10,000,
Big-
that's a big
big range.
swing in there. And then my question would be, if we are taking the samples and taking them to a lab to be tested, is it similar to our shellfish water the water samples for that, where, they're happy for us to bring it up there, but if they don't get to our water, they don't get to it.
Well, if they're interns,
know.
then I would think they could run them back up there.
Right, but who's gonna then have the final say on what the results are? Because
No,
we've got
it-
one lab that'll test for our shellfish beds.
Yeah, well,
You
all
know.
the testing has to be done by the vector control lab. I mean, they're
Right.
gonna use their own lab. You know,
That's already ongoing,
Yeah, that's ongoing. This is just providing them with,
more frequent.
I guess what they wanna do is we're looking to get rid of methoprene, and it's gonna involve doing more testing. So I think Bridget's office has worked out some kind of deal where they'll train additional personnel to do the testing, to do the sample collection, because it has to be done under fairly strict protocols, and there's 6 or 7 different types of environment you have to go through and different methods. And so right now, I guess the reason looking for funding is there's no funding allocated to this. This just became available. I think Bridget's office has been working on some groundbreaking stuff. She's finally getting vector control to consider some new, some.
New approaches.
New protocols, so.
That's great.
Any possibility if this was completely blown up at one point, and Bridget has continued to try to work something out,
Yeah.
and to keep it in that aquaponic area, and
Yeah, no, it's good to have something back from them on what they really want, because that was the problem.
And I
for
think it
so
has a
long.
lot of promise, and I
They
think,
wouldn't tell us
Yeah.
what they wanted to see
you know,
from
may
us.
get a
think
couple
we
of
should-
meetings together on it.
Could
and-
demonstrate our willingness to.
well, we're
perhaps
already in
pick
the season.
Yeah.
We don't want to spend another month discussing this and miss the whole thing.
Yeah, I'd like to do this soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
One consideration.
I'm not saying we have to say tonight, but
The
I think
member
we
of the
should
audience?
just get a little bit closer idea of numbers and
Yeah.
who they would go with, whether it's the interns or Kim's staff.
it's a matter of
That's
whether
gonna
the interns are available. That's what
Right.
they're trying to,
find
If we
out
could
now.
find that
Okay.
out between now and the next meeting.
but it's
that
going to
would
be
really
one or the
helpful.
other. So
Right.
we can do the program with either one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But there's still gonna be a cost involved. Are we willing to pick up that cost? Should it be
I
as
think
much
that's
as
I think we should pick up
$10,000?
some of the costs.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
It's nowhere near as much as the water quality testing costs, for example.
Yeah.
But if we start this, we have to keep it going. I mean, it has to keep
Well, you'd
going for
have to,
years.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
one thing, is that-
you have to do it for whatever prescribed length of time is. I don't see it's gonna be an all-year thing, but it's gonna
Right.
definitely be through the summer.
Yeah, like they vector control tests from whatever, late May or something till
Yeah,
November
this
or
is kind of the
something, yeah.
stuff we've been trying to get going. We've
Yeah.
been trying to get them to move with the dime on Methoprene.
And we
John,
might
did you
also-
want to come up?
Yeah, come on up.
You know, the other consideration is there might be interest in the community to help with some funding sources
Yeah.
also.
Well, I think,
So that's
Yeah.
something we could consider.
you know, I mean, it sounds like something we should be interested in funding at the same time looking for other people to contribute.
Yeah.
I would, just
John,
one
did you
second,
have-
John, okay? I would like to see us move ahead with it this year since we're already in the season,
Right.
and then we'll know what we would be getting into the following season.
No, I'm definitely supportive of us
I
supporting
am
this.
too.
John, sorry.
Could I just ask what's being tested for specifically?
Oh, sorry.
Mosquito larvae and.
The concentration of larvae in samples of water.
So what about numbers of mosquitoes?
Larval numbers, that's what they determine their spraying parameters. So if they're gonna spray, they go and they do dip tests. They dip a little thing in the water, pull up a sample of water. You put it in a little kind of clear jar, a square, like cuvette kind of thing, and you look at it and count the actual number of larvae in there in that given volume of water. So your volume of water is always the same. So if your number of mosquito larvae changes, then that gives you like a threshold. They have some kind of number that's their threshold for if there's this much concentration, then they're gonna spray. So we want to help have more data points in there so they can better determine what the real actual average threshold of mosquito larvae in a given body of water is, instead of going out and taking a couple samples that maybe that sample just has a lot in it for some reason, and it's not really representative of the whole water body. So this way they could have better, more representative data.
And have you considered asking for volunteers to do this, local volunteers, so you didn't have to ship people in from Stony Brook?
They all have to, everybody, I mean,
To be
this is
trained
like a
in it.
brand-new thing. We want to get on board. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think they wanted to use interns because they want people to be there for the duration of the project. And they want to send two-man teams out to do these, and it's a whole thing. They, get your copy
I
of
feel
it.
like getting local volunteers is definitely
But-
viable, and, you know,
but-
just making sure people are trained in doing it properly.
Well, you have to be, you have to be,
No?
They'll want people who are trained
Tell
and
us
are
then.
impartial. They
Talk
don't
about
want
it.
Somebody who's got an axe to grind and.
no, they want to,
going-
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of.
Taking the
there.
samples in the wrong
right.
place, you know?
Yeah.
no, they,
I have
so,
to-
Okay,
just have
thanks.
to excuse myself for a minute. Okay. Sorry.
Absolutely.
I'll be right back.
Well, you know, I think it's a really important project, and, you know, I do think we should get behind it. And
And something we're already invested in
and I
doing,
think that there probably would
doing
be.
something here.
I think there would be some community
Frustrating.
support for this project. And, you know, and it could be volunteers and it could be financial as well. So, you know, it's something that
Yeah.
I think,
Mhm.
you know, we may not want to sit on too long. I don't know how you feel about the timeline, Tyler.
I feel like getting it going as soon as possible, and I think
do
that,
too.
that we, even if it is $10,000 at the maximum, I don't think that that's necessarily
If it
too
leads
much
us
to
to
invest in
ending
something
the
that could really
spraying and
lead to something
Methoprene, and
huge.
improving
Yeah.
the health of the harbor,
Yeah.
it
so
probably
can
is a
we
good
approve
investment.
the possibility of spending up to $10,000?
Cap it.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, we're gonna get more exact details
Right.
as we roll along, but maybe we could just get a consensus of the board to make a commitment.
I just wanted to ask, to what degree might you want to involve the citizens advocacy organizations like Defend H2O and Kevin Mcallister,
Yeah,
possibly
I
to
mean,
raise
all
money,
those-
get volunteers?
I think there's a lot of opportunity to do that. It's a great point.
Okay.
I think they
Thank
want to
you.
get, I mean, they need a certain, I think they'd like to get it going, and they need some kind of financial commitment to move forward.
Right.
And,
I mean, people are allowed to donate to the trustees with certain projects in mind,
Yeah.
you know, so that's something we're,
Right.
and
Organization
obviously,
say,
You know,
hey,
it could be
here's-
to Stony Brook. or
here's
it could be-
$1,000 towards this exact project, and we'd allocate that donation
if
to,
it's going to be ongoing, it's
project,
got to
yeah.
be taken care of budgetarily, you know, with
Yeah.
these other.
The community support, I think, would be there for part of the cost.
there are a number of organizations who are
But
supportive
it's
of
kind of like we've been
getting
talking
Methoprene out
about
of our
trying to get rid of Methoprene for
harbors.
Yeah.
a long time, and this
There's
is
a lot of public support. We had a harbor management committee meeting that focused on Methoprene reduction and elimination, and members of the Accabonac Harbor community were present and were very vocal about their interest in seeing it stopped. So I think it's something we should try and get behind.
Well, at least we have something, concrete to go on here.
Yeah.
We'll wait for Francis to get back, I guess, and finish the discussion here, but I don't know if you planned on voting on something today or what, I don't know.
I think we should.
mean,
I think we should try.
If we had gone to executive session, we couldn't vote. So
We could have come out
I don't
to
think
the-
he was
we
planning, I guess we
Could
could
have
and
come
voted.
out of the executive session
Yeah.
and voted.
Yep.
But this is a conceptual pilot program between.
Yeah, I don't mind voting on the conceptual program. It's a good idea, but to vote tonight to expend up to $10,000?
No, I don't think we vote on
I want a
that.
few more details before that.
'Cause
Yeah.
we don't really have like a
Yeah.
proposal, it's just we have a document here that's telling us what the protocol
Right.
is for mosquito larval dipping.
Yeah.
Which is nice, we have a map, which we already had at Beckermonic Harbor, and the different zones that they spray
And on
in.
the last page,
Yeah.
it says all the samples don't have to be taken anywhere. They'll count them in the field and then
Yeah, I mean,
radio
put it
in
down
what
the
they find.
There's different,
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of different.
depending upon the site, you have different
Yeah.
dipping methods.
This thing, I think they wanted to discuss it, I think Francis thought about
Yeah.
discussion in executive session this wasn't totally fleshed out yet, the program, the details, but more Francis, 'cause go ahead.
Right, you don't want people misinterpreting things and, yeah.
Yeah. But I personally would like to sort of guarantee a financial commitment. But I can understand waiting until we get the details.
And there's no, we
I'm
don't,
not sure if
again, we
there's
don't
a,
know if
Yeah.
it's gonna cost us anything or not, so
It-
we can't
yeah.
really guarantee anything.
Yeah, because we don't know how we've had to sit and wait on a lot of county stuff, so,
Yeah, we have.
yeah.
Tyler, let me-
So Francis, were you intending to vote on anything regarding this tonight?
We all seem to be in favor of the concept, and we would be willing to come up with some of the financial requirements, but we would need some more details. So, having said that, I don't know
supportive
how
of the
much more to
concept.
discuss. We seem to all be on board. It sounds like a good project.
I mean, to make a motion to authorize the clerk to engage in detailed discussions and financial research to support the project?
Or,
Yeah.
Does that work?
I don't even see if we have,
I don't know if we need a motion.
Can we,
it's not gonna vote on, I feel like.
What?
can we
we could-
agree to, oh, God. I'm falling apart. If I get the additional information, can we finalize this via email?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I mean,
If it's stated very clearly where we all understand, yes. And just let me point out one more thing, though. If you already thought you had the approval, why did you ask us again?
What did why? Because I want it on record that
Right. so
we
when was
didn't
the-
vote. We did
We
not
did not
vote,
vote,
but
okay.
we had the conversation and there were
Okay.
only
Right.
2 people who were opposed, that's why.
Okay. So,
So with
yeah, but we have in the
Who are-
past
who's
said, like,
opposed to it?
pending receipt of such and such information, we will then, as a board, approve a particular act, permit, because then we're here in the public and they know what we're doing. So pending you informing us of exactly how much money they might be looking for,
We may or may not get an exact number.
Yeah, but within the parameters we discussed, everybody's good with it?
depending upon what I don't know,
Well, you got two
$10,000
things.
is
You
a
got
lot.
service rendered,
Yeah,
dollar amount that we would contribute.
Okay,
yeah.
hang in there.
Yeah.
Who is getting, training, organizing the interns? Natural Resources?
Vector control.
So the county will be doing that.
The county will come here and spend a day training them. Yes.
So who supplies the interns?
We were gonna, trustees. trustees are gonna
Kevin McDonald is trying to round up the interns.
From TNC.
From where?
The
Suitable-
Nature Conservancy.
suitable
Yeah.
Kevin,
Okay.
not Kevin McAllister, Kevin McDonald.
But this was but the trustees were gonna
financially support the project. Now, the
Right, who-
manner
that
of
we're-
who's
we-
gonna actually do the work
This
is
money
still
would
in-
be paid to vector control?
No, the intern,
No,
probably
the
the
intern.
interns would
The-
be paid.
Okay, just making sure.
Oh, I mean, you know where they will go, how
So
often they
they're
will
gonna be
go there?
employees of the
Yeah,
trustees.
I mean, that, I think
Yes.
that was the concept, but it's
We're
still
gonna be
being worked out
employees, that
because nobody's
comes in-
sure if they can supply the interns.
Safety
Somebody
things,
has supplied the
insurance.
vials and stuff like that, too.
They are.
No,
They,
they're
they
gonna-
will
They'll have to
supply
train
all the
them.
tools.
Safety
They're gonna
protocols.
Vector
supply the
control will
dippers,
supply the tools.
tools. They suggest, I mean, there's probably gonna be equipment involved. They suggest, they, you know, boots.
Boots, yeah,
Screens, stuff. So there would be costs of that, and conceptually,
Mosquito repellent.
yeah, mosquito repellent.
Well, there are helpful.
If we can get an idea of the dollar amount associated with the project, you know, that, obviously that would be helpful,
Yeah,
you know,
it's all kind of broken down. I mean,
yeah.
it was,
Is it an hourly
Well, it's
salary?
right now,
Number of
no-
interns, there is a little bit of a plan here that we
Yeah.
don't seem to quite have our arms around.
there's a lot of details. It was basically that we would like the Methoprene, you know, we would like the testing to be done in an effort to reduce the Methoprene spraying, and with the hopes of eventually proving that it's safe to stop spraying.
This sounds like a program that needs to be reduced to writing,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, there's really-
something-
Yeah, we need a
gotta-
project
there's gotta be a
plan.
written
Yeah.
protocol between whoever on the town side, maybe the trustees,
Yep.
is,
Well, that's where we're,
and vector control,
that's where the agreement comes in.
yeah.
Because like
It
we were just
hasn't been-
discussing,
Hasn't been written up yet.
Francis, if
We have-
it's,
yeah,
if
we don't
it's
have a
trustee money
protocol, yeah, we
going to
don't
the
have an
interns,
Agreement written up.
then is that going to pull
do have an
in
agreement.
issues with insurance, with the
We have a protocol.
safety training?
Like with harbor management volunteers.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So that's another whole level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Would the
Yeah.
vector control be providing that training? Yeah, I know, there's a lot of details to be worked out here.
But would the town accept vector control safety training? Or would they rather have Ed Michaels do it? I mean, this is like, could get complicated.
So I think
depending
everyone's
upon
behind
where
it.
they come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, we need to vet out some more details before the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Who furnishes you with the details?
I think we're hoping that this is in progress, I mean, being done before the next meeting.
Yeah, so why don't we reach out to Bridget tomorrow, and if we can get a
They do
point
mention
person in
this.
vector control and start to drill this down.
We're on,
Yeah, she'd
we're on
certainly know
board.
the complexities.
You know, if
of
you
it.
want me to help out with that, I'm happy to
Yeah, well,
make a couple calls and try and help delineate that plan for the next meeting.
Get an idea of what the
okay.
dollar.
I was in
idea.
touch with Bridget today. Kim spoke with Kevin late last week. She didn't seem to feel that the interns was a lock. Bridget spoke with Kevin on Saturday, and he was feeling quite positive about being able to get the interns, which would leave Kim's people off the hook.
So can we try and nail that point down? I think
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, she didn't have that answer yet today,
Okay.
but
But conceptually, if this can get done for less than $10,000.
it can be done either way, so, I
Right.
mean,
I think we're in support of it,
Looking favorably on that?
absolutely. I think it's an important initiative, and we should move forward with it.
Right, but before we sign off, we just,
Yeah,
need to get a
no,
little
and
more
that's
info.
throwing
More
money out the
info.
The
window.
particulars, but it sounds great. Sounds like a worthwhile
Yeah.
thing to do.
Let's
I
try
want
and
to
go
make
with
sure,
it.
you know, we are very involved in crafting whatever the agreement is, and we're not just handed something for vector control. It's like, hey, here you go, guys.
No, this
Right,
is,
you
here's
know,
your check.
this
have a good day.
So, because this whole thing started with kind of us taking the initiative and saying, hey, we want you to stop spraying Methoprene in our waters. Let's work together on this instead of being combative about it, though, and let's get this happen. And we've gotten this far, and it's great.
Yeah, maybe we need a
Make
meeting
sure we
with
don't-
vector control and the
we don't
Nature
lose our
Conservancy and Bridget.
ground that
One
we
last
have.
meeting and nail it down.
all right, so I'll continue to move this along.
Okay, good.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Francis.
All right.
Keep in I want to
Anybody have anything else?
be in close contact about it, okay?
want to make a motion to close?
Motion to close?
Yep.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
You.